Father of the nation, visionary, emancipist. 200 years ago, Governor Lachlan Macquarie had a vision for New South Wales to turn a languishing colony into a prosperous, thriving society.
When Lachlan Macquarie arrived in 1810, the colony was deeply divided. Bligh had been overthrown as governor, and so there were rival factions. And part of Macquarie's brilliance was to draw a line under this and start again.
This colony will, at no distant period, be as fine and opulent a town as any one in His Majesty's other foreign dominions.
I think Macquarie's vision for the colony was ambitious and up until that time unrivalled. To create a society where former convicts could re-enter society with their crimes washed away, and to improve the colony, to create a decent infrastructure. Lachlan Macquarie was an army man. He'd spent 33 years of his life in the army. Macquarie was in power from 1810 to 1821, 12 years. He was the longest serving of all the colonial governors. And he was not even the first choice of Governor of New South Wales. It was one of those what-ifs of history. He saw New South Wales as his manor and the population as his tenants. This is what he wanted to be. And so in New South Wales, he did have a manor, a rather large manor. And he went about improving that with a benevolent attitude to the population. Nonetheless, he was the boss. He wanted to establish a number of new towns, which he did. And Macquarie believed that if you gave a decent infrastructure to people, then they would be less likely to commit crime. So you'd be creating a decent urban environment. The British government had not provided a currency for Australia, and Macquarie realised the necessity of this. And so he imported 40,000 Spanish dollars, and he cut the middle out of each of them. And so he created a specifically Australian currency, and this was the holy dollar. Macquarie liked to tour the colony and do it with some ceremony. This was like a royal progress around his domain. It was appreciated by the populace because for the first time a governor was actually coming and visiting them and finding out their opinions. He went all over his domain, even isolated towns or people living in huts. He also sent out explorers, and the great breakthrough during his period was the crossing of the Blue Mountains. He wanted to see the full extent of his territory and to meet the people. He did like naming things after himself, and he liked other people to name things after him as well. One of the first things he did was to organise the streets of Sydney, and there he named the best street Macquarie Street, and the next one Elizabeth Street after his wife. He named the streets after his predecessors, Philip Hunter King and Bligh, although of course he kept the shorter street for Bligh. He developed a network of roads and bridges connecting the colony. He instituted the first toll road between Sydney and Parramatta and then extended that to Windsor. He was active in expanding the limits of the colony. I think Macquarie's legacy is many things. First of all, there's a physical legacy. The buildings, which are Macquarie's buildings, and no other governor has that sort of legacy. 440 kilometres of roads he constructed, some of which are still used today. The 265 separate building works, which was a huge number for his 12 years. The Major Taylor panorama was created at the end of Macquarie's reign to show the progress of the colony during Macquarie's period. So we see a city with buildings, hospitals, civic amenities, roads, bridges. We see the population going about its daily life, well-dressed. It was a piece of propaganda in order to show people that we had a society, not just a penal colony. It looks a very pleasant place that you might like to come and emigrate to.
The Governor, a free exhibition brought to you by the State Library of New South Wales, travelling to these regional locations.